I am Irene Joroge.
Iwapo unakohoa, unahisi uchungu kwenye kifua, uchovu kila wakati, joto jingi mwilini, unakosa hamu ya kula au kupoteza uzito haraka bila kukusudia na kutokwa na jasho jingi usiku, waweza kuwa waugua TB.
In Kenya, we're in a rat race and we are caught in some machine that's rolling and we do not know how to stop the action. But it starts with us. It starts with that awareness. So tell someone, come on.
As they grow up, they'll tell themselves, for me to be safe, I need to be quiet. And most of the times as you grow up, you always withdraw.
TB yaweza kuangamiza jamii yako. Usikubali. Matibabu ni bila malipo katika hospitali zote za serikali.
If you value it, insure it. Do you have a life insurance policy? Do you know the status of your policy? Have you received premium payment statement? Contact your insurance company to check your policy status, the policy value, and the premium payment position. Pay your premiums on a regular basis to receive the full benefits of your policy and avoid cancellation of your policy. Now you know. IRA, promoting insurance, protecting the insured.
The Mozart Bait Cup brings together teams from Kenya Premier League, the National Super League, and the FKF Division 1 side for a chance to represent the nation in the CAF Confederation. Catch all the action live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 as we bring you all the matches of the Mozart Bait Cup with the grand finale set for the 24th of June 2023. Watch this momentous event live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 from the comfort of your place. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya missed call, bonyeza *811 *961 hash.
Juzi mimi ninakuja, ninatoka nje, ninawacha simu hapo, nikirudi kutoka raundi napata 4 missed call ya kutoka kwa bibi. Nikimuuliza ulikuwa unapiga unasema nini? Ananiambia eti alikuwa ananipigia, aniambia nimesahau simu. Kumbe bibi ananipenda na mimi.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya missed call, kama skiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *961 hash. *811 *961 hash.
The Policyholders Compensation Fund, PCF, is a state corporation under the National Treasury and Economic Planning that was established under the Insurance Act with the primary mandate of providing compensation to the claimants of an insurer placed under statutory management or whose license has been cancelled. It was established for the secondary purpose of creating confidence in the insurance sector. Policyholders Compensation Fund, dhamana ya bima yako.
Welcome to the Voice of the Nation. Live from Broadcasting House, this is the Prime Edition with me, O'Brien Kimani. We'll take you to the floor of the House and give you an update of what transpired in the House. And we'll still take you to the floor of the geothermal steams in Menengai Crater and tell you the story of how Kenya is planning to make the big switch to renewable energy by the year 2025. This is the Prime Edition, the most comprehensive bulletin of the land. Welcome to the show. At O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle. At KBC Channel 1 is our official Twitter handle. We'll also be having a conversation later on in this bulletin that will revolve around the much talked about the Finance Bill 2023. We'll be separating the noise from the realities. Our experts are in the house. I shall be unveiling them in about 45 minutes or 30 minutes from now. Welcome to the show, but for now, let's have a look at the highlights.
The Africa Union Agenda 2063 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as well as COMESA's strategic objectives, have been incorporated into Kenya's National Transformation Agenda.
Urging the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa member countries to change tact in their approach to trade.
And have no difficulty with your decision to remove your deputy whip.
Sabina Chege is Deputy Minority Whip, rules National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula. Substandard sugar impounded. Kenya Bureau of Standards removed 52 tons from the market. Welcome to the Bulletin. Well, President William Ruto is urging the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa member countries to change tact in their approach to trade. President William Ruto further says urgent institutional reforms at the African Union are needed to adapt to modern realities and increase operational capacity for the continent to perform at the highest level.
Speaking on Thursday during the 22nd COMESA Summits of Heads of State and Government held in Lusaka, Zambia, President William Ruto said the bloc must embrace a systematic shift to exploit its untapped potential.
We have a historic opportunity to join forces in building the capacity of every player along the value chain, especially as regards ability to comply with competitive standards and to harmonize our standards and regulatory frameworks. In so doing, we will enhance the competitiveness of our products and enable them to penetrate regional and international markets.
President Ruto implored COMESA member states with a combined population of 580 million people to improve intra-COMESA trade and fill the demand gap for value-added products.
We have a few sectors where value addition is entrenched, and we need to expand the areas where we add value to our primary products. Additionally, weak regulatory frameworks, rampant non-tariff barriers, and weak technological capacity contribute to our underperformance in value addition and therefore in trade.
He also called for the consolidation of the COMESA, the East African Community and the South Africa Development Community to enhance the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
We can consolidate this market into the TFTA that will give us 720 million people with a GDP of 1.3 trillion, and we can create a huge market that can be competitive with other markets globally.
Leaders present lauded member states for efforts to create a seamless market with reduced cost of doing business, but said more could be done.
That is why all of us agreed that our only chance of improving our position is to leverage the strength in our numbers, to integrate our economies urgently so that we have collective resilience against unpredictable external forces that are coming against us with greater and greater frequency over time.
We need to leverage the economies of scale presented by the size of our region, just the sheer size of our region, with a population of around 583 million people a gross domestic product of over $800 billion.
The forum was held under the theme Economic Integration for a Thriving COMESA, anchored on green investment, value addition and tourism. For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troy-Njue.
And of course tonight our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraru. Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance has urged President William Ruto to withdraw the finance bill, terming it detrimental to the economy. The alliance leader, Raila Odinga, said the proposals in the bill will greatly affect the common man, negating the Kenya Kwanza principle of a bottom-up economy. He instead urged the government to reduce expenditure through measures such as curbing loss of revenue and doing away with chief administrative secretaries.
Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance has maintained its rejection of the finance bill, terming its proposal as harmful to the economy.
Then let the Azimio Economic Council take the country through the details. Ruto wants to levy taxes on chama or merry-go-rounds. Merry-go-rounds are the bankers and lenders of last resort for our mothers and youth, particularly in rural areas and slums. Rather than burden Kenyans, we want Ruto to undertake the following. 1. Stop duplication of county roles and responsibilities. In the proposed bill, budget for health is growing by 35 billion shillings at the national level, yet health is a devolved function.
The opposition instead urged the government to be frugal in its expenditure. They maintained their opposition to tax hikes, threatening to stage protests should the National Assembly pass the bill.
There is still time to withdraw this bill and bring it back in a form that is responsive to the plight of the people, in a form that is acceptable. But our plea has fallen on deaf ears so far. So if this bill finds its way to the floor of the House in its current form, we are not going to make any attempt to propose any amendments to it. We shall be moving to reject it.
Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
And still on politics, where Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition has condemned the decision by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, to retain Sabina Chege as the Deputy Minority Whip. Wetangula's announcement on Thursday afternoon caused a commotion in the chambers, leading to the suspension of 7 opposition members of Parliament for gross disorderly conduct.
Of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula.
On Thursday afternoon, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula finally ruled on the fate of Deputy Minority Whip position.
On one hand, the minority party has met all the procedural requirements to effect a change of its leadership. On the other hand, I'm confronted by a court order that specifically cited both the Speaker and the House as parties to a judicial process that seems to challenge an administrative process. From the foregoing, my hands are therefore tied with regard to the court order that has been brought to my attention. Until and unless further information is provided that this order has been varied or set aside, the court order effectively suspends the decision by the minority party on the replacement of the Honourable Sabina Chege as the Deputy Minority Whip.
He also urged Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition and Jubilee Party, which had nominated Sabina Chege, to resolve the matter.
But there is a court order to which, strangely, your party and your coalition is not a part of the proceedings. I would advise you that you seek to enjoin yourselves with the proceedings. If you wish, and pursue the matter in court, it is so ordered.
The communication did not augur well with legislators from the opposition.
Honorable Rosa Buyu and Mele Odhiambo will leave the chamber. Honorable Kajwang, you also follow. No order! No order! No order! Silent. Ensure the 2 members are out of the chamber. Order, honorable members. The House will take a short recess of 15 minutes.
But even after resuming, the proceedings were interrupted, leading to adjournment. 7 members, namely Millie Odhiambo, Rosa Buyu, Sabina Chege, TJ Kajwang, Fatuma Munyazi, Catherine Omanyo, and Joyce Kamene, were suspended for gross disorderly conduct. Azimio lawmakers termed the court order as stale.
The so-called court order is talking about couldn't have arisen if he had acted on my original letter.
We have made a decision who we want to whip us. It is not logical and it is not moral for anyone to purport to want to sit in an office where they cannot work. In fact, if anything, I think that's the most immoral thing any individual can do.
Kwa nini Sabina Chege awe huko Kenya Kwanza na lazima awe Azimio? Kwa nini apewe allowances zote za deputy whip? Hakuna kazi anafanya, haja whip member wa Azimio hata siku moja. Miezi 7 imepita. Sabina Chege amoe moja. Kusuka ama kunyoa.
Things cannot move in this manner, in this house, anymore. And we have decided, first and foremost, as a starting point, to bring a motion of impeachment against the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula.
Speaking separately, Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni also faulted Wetangula's decision, saying it was against the standing orders.
It is not the case of Sabina that is in court. No, that position, the issue of Azimio is not in court. Yale yako kotini mambo ya Jubilee. Wale ambao wengine wamekuwa kiasema tofauti.
Kamchemenza for
The Director of Public Prosecutions has lined up 35 witnesses to testify in the inquest into the death of college student Jeff Mwathi, which has been set for the 10th of August 2023. Senior Principal Magistrate Zainab Abdul ruled that the matter is of great public interest and that the prosecution needs to be given time to summon the witnesses and record statements.
Jeff Mwadhi's murder case, which triggered a public uproar, has been rescheduled for 10th August 2023. Giving direction on the matter, trial magistrate Zainab Abdul ordered the prosecution to furnish the family lawyer with the relevant documents for perusal.
Get a copy. I will supply.
Thank you.
How is the 10th of August?
Jeff Mwadhi's family, through their lawyer, appealed to any members of the public with crucial information about the case to volunteer information to help in the arraignment of the perpetrators of the heinous act.
Ombi letu kama familia, wakili wa familia, ni kwamba yeyote mwenye ushahidi anaweza pea ushahidi ule vyombo vya habari, anaweza niletea mimi wakili Danson Omari, pia ule ushahidi tutaweza kuchukua.
As the defense, we have our best foot forward and we will do what is necessary to uncover.
Sasa tunajua tutapata justice ya mtoto wetu, tumeumia, tumelia, tumehangaika, but tunaamini kuna Mungu tu mbinguni.
Elsewhere, jailed rugby player Alex Olaba has challenged a 6-year term imposed on him by a city magistrate for threatening to kill a key witness in the rape case against him. Olaba, through his lawyer Clifford Oak, is urging the High Court to quash the sentence and the additional 2-year jail term imposed for defeating justice. Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition.
Cities and towns are being called upon to improve walking and cycling infrastructure as a means of decarbonizing the environment. According to a report by UN Habitat, major cities and towns prioritize cars over people, which leads to more gas emissions that are harmful to the environment.
Effort to reduce carbon emissions in the country and globally and achieve a healthier environment for all. Governments are being called upon to implement climate-friendly policies such as building dedicated walking and cycling lanes as well as enhancing public transport sector. Cycling is gaining popularity, but how safe is it?
Today I've cycled to the UN from home. And once you get the confidence, it's all part of that, getting the confidence and the know-how and the technical skills of cycling, then you can move around, you can maneuver, and go through the roads.
The biggest barrier was the experience people have with motorists.
most cyclists feel like, the aggression towards cyclists makes them afraid to cycle. So even with poor infrastructure, people still want to ride bikes.
During the ongoing UN Habitat Assembly at Gigiri, Nairobi, discussions on whether the world will achieve sustainable development goals and implement the Paris Agreement saw Kenyan government officials pledging to comply.
What we've seen working is provision of separate facilities for the cyclists, where they feel safe and separate from the motorists.
Nia yetu na nia ya gavana wa Mombasa ni kuhakikisha kuwa Mombasa iko safe kwa watu wanaotembea na miguu na wanaopeleka baskeli. Ni mtu muhimu mwanzo, wanaopeleka baskeli ndo wanalinda mazingira yetu zaidi kuliko wale wanaopeleka magari. Sio?
We are clearly prioritizing space in cities and everywhere else for cars and not for people currently.
But what more can the government do to ensure those who prefer cycling feel more accommodated and less marginalized?
If we can have cycling lanes all the way from the airport to people's homes so that everyone comes into the country and knows they can cycle into this country, into Nairobi, yes, on every road, then you'll find that commuting, even the pressure on public transport would go down.
So understanding the economic value of walkways and cycling lanes is something that we need to start doing. Cars and rail transport are considered to be more bankable, more attractive to financial institutions, but walkways and bike lanes are not considered to be as important, and that's something that we need to change. If we teach young people that this simple machine does more for you, your body, your health, the community, the planet, than the big machine, the cars. So it starts from a young age.
Having a mass action, a critical mass, where everyone takes up a bike and we all go out and we all fight for the rights to also share the road with the motorists. And then motorists also respect cyclists as human beings, as someone else who is using the road.
For cyclists in Kenya, more dedicated cycling lanes and changes in policy would mean that they too get to enjoy a cycling experience on the Kenyan roads without worrying about their safety. Yusuf Farah reporting for Prime Edition in the county of Nairobi.
A great piece there by Yusuf Farah there. Did you just enjoy that huge bike? Well, it looks very interesting. You're watching the Prime Edition live from Broadcasting House. We're taking our first break. We'll be back with more stories. Stay here.
Kwa majina naitwa David Irene, nimetoka Mwiki. Lotomoto ni show iko sawa, ni kitu true. So na walikanyi wote mcheze Lotomoto.
Usisahau kucheza Lotomoto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number weka 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000. Lipa kisha subiri draw.
Stop searching in wrong places. Billions in unclaimed cash and other assets are here for you. Unclaimed financial assets include bank accounts, insurance policies, and other financial assets belonging to people just like you. Don't let your assets remain unclaimed. Take a few minutes to check and see if you have any unclaimed financial assets. Claiming your assets is easy. Simply visit www.ufaa.go.ke, dial *361# or visit Huduma Center near you. Labda umeomoka na ujui? The Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Finally, it's back with a bang. The toughest rally on the WRC calendar returns to the terrain of the Great Rift Valley.
This is Safari Rally 2023, legacy event, heritage event. This is gonna be a rally like no other.
An exciting celebration of true authentic Kenyan sport. Tune in to KBC Channel 1 on Friday, 9th of June at 3 p.m. as His Excellency President William Ruto kicks off the celebrations for the 70 years of Safari Rally in Kenya and activate the Sports and Creative Economy Master Plan.
Welcome back. Well, First Lady Rachel Ruto has launched the Kakamega Forest Restoration Program by planting 30,000 tree seedlings in part of the vast forest. The First Lady is spearheading the planting of 500 million trees by the year 2032 as part of the National Greening Initiative that is targeting to plant 15 billion trees within the same time frame.
Karibu mama.
First Lady Rachel Ruto led the planting of the 30,000 trees at the Shikusa block, which is part of the vast Kakamega forest.
Ili tuweze kupanda miti. Tuko na furaha sana asubuhi ya leo.
This being part of an elaborate initiative seeking to restore the degraded parts of the forest, where the First Lady has already adopted 500 hectares earmarked for restoration.
Hatua hii ni kujitolea kwetu kukabiliana na uharibifu wa misitu, kupunguza makali ya tabia nchi, yani climate change, na kuhifadhi mazingira yetu ambayo inachangia sana maisha yetu ya kila siku.
Kakamega County holds environmental conservation issues dearly. The Kakamega Tropical Forest in particular is one of our other goals. It contributes largely to the favorable climate of this region, and it holds huge potential for bioenergy, besides being a source of numerous medicinal drugs.
The First Lady's visit to the only tropical rainforest in the country also saw the signing of a collaborative framework between the Kenya Forest Service and the Mama Doing Good initiative.
Afisi yangu imejitolea kukuza miti milioni 500 ifikapo mwaka wa 2030 ili kuunga mkono juhudi za serikali.
She also delivered 115 bicycles to community forest associations for advocacy towards environmental conservation. She later met a group of women from Kakamega County.
Mimi tu ndio wasiki na mama muingie katika vikundi. Kenya ya leo utapatikana katika kikundi. Hakuna mtu ambaye anakujua wewe mtu binafsi, lakini sisi tukikuja pamoja tuweze kuwa katika vikundi.
The First Lady also used the opportunity to advocate for clean cooking as a way to eliminate deforestation in the country. For Prime Edition, I am Wycliffe Okech.
Well, time now for business news, where the Kenya Bureau of Standards says it has seized about 52 tons of substandard sugar that had found its way into the market. Acting Managing Director Esther Ngari says the tests are currently being done on the contaminated consignment with the aim of destroying the batch once conclusive results are out.
A dispute over the ownership of the condemned 1,000 metric tons of brown sugar saw President William Ruto's administration early last month suspend state employees, among them KEBS Managing Director retired Colonel Lieutenant Bernard Njiraini. The sugar had been declared unfit for human consumption in 2018 and earmarked for conversion into industrial ethanol. Ngari says KEBS has since been recollecting the item from over 300 outlets spread across the country to ensure there were no fatalities recorded from the public if consumed.
There were 2 people who were authorized. Kenya Bureau of Standards dealt with Galgamesh, who made a request for the alternative use, and a board paper was done and authorization given that we release to Galgamesh for the alternative use, and he had a contract with a distillery in Machakos.
This, however, arose suspicion on why KEBS officials changed their earlier stand on the cargo to allow it in the market. Trade Committee Chair James Gakuya noted that the recommendations tabled by KEBS on the change showed that the agencies mandated to handle the sugar did not follow the procedures.
There must be people to check whether maybe the commodity is still there or not. We would like to know whose responsibility was this, and whose responsibility is it, the KEBS responsibility to make sure that the cargo is intact at the warehouse until at the point of departure from the warehouse to the destined route. Or whose mandate? Is it KEBS or is it the KRA?
To this end, Ngari assured the committee the results would be shared once the testing exercise is completed and proceed to be destroyed as had earlier been recommended.
invitation to destruction of condemned brown sugar in 40 by 20 feet containers from Zimbabwe. If you look at the second paragraph, the March Agency Destruction Committee meeting on 12 April 2023 resolved to release the cargo on 13 April 2023 at 9:30 hours for transportation by road to the destruction site.
The incident comes at a time when Kenyans have been hit by one of the biggest price increases in sugar in more than a decade as players blame shortage. Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
Elsewhere, large-scale millers risk losing 2.6 billion shillings as Parliament questions their 2022 subsidy program invoices. The National Assembly's Committee on Agriculture and Livestock Subsidy Program report says the Cereal Millers Association's pending bills were likely exaggerated and some of the payments were irregular.
Parliament wants pending bills worth 2.6 billion shillings owed to large-scale millers for the last year's maize subsidy program to be further investigated. According to the National Assembly, large-scale millers failed to prove Kenyans got value for their money during the program, and their transaction during the 4-month subsidy programs raises more questions. The National Assembly's Agriculture Committee also notes that the amount large-scale millers are demanding from the Ministry of Agriculture was much higher than the invoice submitted to the committee during the hearing of the subsidy program. The report further says the Ministry of Agriculture and the Cereal Millers Association could not explain how payments amounting to 500 million shillings for the 2017-2018 subsidy program were distributed. However, the small-scale millers' invoices for the subsidy program have been approved by Parliament. The National Assembly has directed Treasury to factor in payment of pending bills worth 500 million shillings to small-scale millers in the 2023-2024 budget. The MPs further urged the National Treasury to regularize 841.8 million shillings payments to small-scale millers since the undertaking was above board. Parliament established that a total of 3.5 billion shillings was paid out to 119 millers who participated in the subsidy program, with 3 billion shillings outstanding. The millers supplied a combined total of 121.7 thousand kilos of maize flour during the subsidy program. Benson Druba reporting for Prime Edition.
When construction of the first power plant in the steam-rich Menengai area kicked off today, ending a decade-long of wait. The 35-megawatt plant by UK-based power company Globelec will take 3 years to construct. Globelec says the project will cost 9 billion shillings, boosting Kenya's quest to migrate totally to renewable energy. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says the government will continue to invest in renewable energy to lower energy prices and reduce greenhouse gases.
In January, a London-based power firm, Globelec, secured 8.89 billion shillings to develop a 35-megawatt power plant at the Menengai Crater geothermal field in Nakuru, boosting Kenya's effort to fully go green and consequently lower the cost of electricity. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua today presided over the groundbreaking for the construction of the second Menengai geothermal power plant project in Nakuru.
Green energy is also affordable, a factor that will significantly bring down the cost of power, especially for our domestic consumers. For instance, upon completion, electricity from this power plant that we launched today will cost about 7 US cents.
Kenya has a vast geothermal potential of up to 10,000 megawatts, and the successful development of the Menengai geothermal project will boost possible development in the field.
Currently, at least 87.42% of our power is green. Geothermal power alone contributes 45.5% to the national grid. This, therefore, means that we are on track to meeting our power demand, which keeps rising at the rate of 3.1% annually.
The project, which will take 3 years to complete, will add an extra 35 megawatts to the national grid and will push Kenya closer to the target of 100% transition to renewable energy.
We also want to attract more local and foreign direct investments. We ride on the fact that green energy is more reliable than fossil fuel or hydropower, even in times of catastrophes like the recent drought, which substantially reduce the volumes of water in our rivers and dams.
3 independent power producers have been contracted to develop a 35 megawatt power plant each, with one having completed the steam gathering system from 13 wells. Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
And of course, Kenya continues to make strides in renewable energy, being the biggest contributor of geothermal energy in Africa and the 7th in the world. Well, good stuff there. Well, only 38% of Kenyans are financially literate, hindering efforts to bring more people into the formal banking sector. This has affected Kenya's savings rate, which stands at 13%, way below Africa's average of 17%. The Kenya Bankers Association and the Central Bank of Kenya have partnered to launch a campaign to encourage more people to embrace savings.
Kenya's poor saving culture has been traced to minimal mentoring and financial literacy, as well as high spending power, especially by young people. In the East African region, Kenya trails Tanzania and Uganda, where savings stands at over 20%. The Central Bank of Kenya says it will partner with financial institutions to raise savings in the country.
Customers are now faced with a myriad of financial services and products that they may not understand. This has led to challenges including over-indebtedness and addiction to betting and gaming.
To promote a savings culture, stakeholders in the financial service sector have launched a public awareness campaign called Ka Chonjo, targeting to improve financial literacy among the youth and the general public.
It remains critical to be deliberate in targeting positive development outcomes that strengthen the resilience of people and small businesses and contribute to their improved financial health.
We firmly believe that financial inclusion is a gateway to economic empowerment, and it plays a vital role in building a prosperous society.
In line with the industry's ongoing commitment to facilitate access to credit in the market, this campaign also seeks to leverage savings as a pathway to further access credit for both personal and enterprise development.
The campaign will focus on disseminating financial literacy messages related to savings, banking, pensions, and insurance.
We look forward to having a strengthened partnership and key collaborations with all the stakeholders to ensure that then we safeguard the interest of the depositors, because that's the only way we can enhance the financial stability.
Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
The Policyholders Compensation Fund notifies the general public that it is currently compensating policyholders and beneficiaries of Standard Assurance Company and Resolution Insurance Company. All claimants are required to download the claims form from PCF website www.pcf.go.ke or collect physical forms from PCF offices, KWFT Center, 6th floor, Masaba Road, Upper Hill. Fill the form in duplicate and attach copies of the required documents. Submit to PCF offices for verification and processing in line with the fund's compensation guidelines and procedures. The maximum compensation payable by the fund on any one claim lodged by a claimant is 250,000 Kenya shillings. Policyholders Compensation Fund, dhamana ya bima yako.
Kurumisha ndege. Aviator instant game. Be a daring pilot and earn by how much high you can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
Welcome to East Africa. This is Safari Rally Kenya.
The WRC Safari Rally set for June 22nd to June 25th in Naivasha This year's event, the 7th leg of the WRC calendar, consisting of 19 stages, will see drivers, among them defending champion and series leader Khalid Vanpera, battle in what's considered as the toughest rally in the world. KBC Channel 1 will bring the action to your living room, where a total of only 5 stages will be broadcast live on KBC Channel 1 and the Shakedown exclusive on our Facebook page. Catch the WRC Safari Rally on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Farmers from arid and semi-arid areas can now efficiently and conveniently irrigate their crops, even with limited water supply, thanks to a mechanical innovation that can detect moisture content in the soil. Today on Tech One, we look at how these innovations, smart agriculture technology, can revolutionize the country's farming methods.
It is designed to work with the solar.
A simple demonstration of the harmony between technology and the soil. A machine, as simple as it looks, in real time, sending specific amounts of water into the soil, depending on if it can detect sufficient moisture. Using water efficiently in farms is important.
And rain-fed agriculture has been failing for some time. So I thought maybe if I can come up with a system that utilizes a little amount of water so that I can maximize.
Kenya's average annual precipitation, according to the World Bank, is less than 250 millimeters in the northern arid and semi-arid lands annually. It is why innovators like electrical engineer Aaron Mutua from the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation say technology is a new way of dealing with the drought.
The way it has been set, such that you can control certain parameters that are important in the farm. Things to do with the temperature, if it is a greenhouse, temperature control, you have temperature and humidity sensors to sense humidity and temperature.
The innovation is not only scalable, but can also be controlled remotely from the palm of your hand.
Yeah, so the system uses an Android app that is available in the Play Store. It's called Blink, and you customize the app to the farmer himself or herself, such that if you open the app, you will find features concerning your farm.
Engineer Mutua says the device even appeals to the youth, who are perceived to be tech-savvy, thereby increasing interest in farming systems and improving the country's food security.
I would urge the fewer to embrace this technology, because this technology is going to be the future of farming, especially irrigated farming.
Currently, the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation is seeking ways to implement water and irrigation services while leveraging different resources, expertise and technology from partners who include innovative Kenyans. Alan Auko, Tech One.
And be sure to watch the Prime Edition every Thursday for more jaw-dropping innovations. Well, would you live in a house made from plastic material? Well, this is likely to be the future technology of housing. A plastic house that Norwegian firm Otalo says is affordable, sustainable and fire-resistant. The company says the widespread adoption have the potential of transforming the way we think about construction. The technology offers affordable, eco-friendly and resilient housing solutions for communities.
Otalo, it all started with a vision of using one global problem to solve another global problem. And that is what we're trying to do, use the billions tons of plastic waste throughout the world to battle the housing deficiency of the world. This one, 100% recycled plastic waste. As of today, there's produced between 9 and 10 billion tons of plastic, which of 71% is still in nature, in dump sites, all over the world. This is strong, it's durable, it's safe, and it is affordable, because that's what it is about. Affordability, creating homes for the ones who is in dire need for homes. It is modular based. You can, now, let's take this one for example. On Friday, we're dismantling this and putting it up another place in Nairobi. This building here uses about 3.8 metric tons of plastic waste. This is a 43 square meter unit. We could look at studios. We could look at 40 square meters, 60 square meters, 80 square meters. It is your imagination that stops it. We add value to it. It's actually from waste to wealth. So we are having a coating which reflects the direct sunlight. Up to 95% of the sunlight is reflected away to reduce the temperature impact, both on the structure, but also of the temperature inside the building, to create a comfortable temperature inside. We want to enter Kenya. So what we want to do is to set down a factory here. One factory produces about 2,500 homes, 60 square meter homes per year. Creates about 1,500 jobs by doing so. And this one, to put it like, we used less than 24 hours from we started until the electricity was in and everything. We need partnerships to do that. All is about creating partnerships. We want local partners to be partners. We want to create jobs. We want to create prosperity locally. That's important. We need local partners. And that's also a really important thing. I mentioned youth. For me, the youth, the generation of the future is what this is about. This is what it's all about.
Nyumba yangu.
Nyumba yangu, furaha yangu. My home, my pride.
Othello, the team behind this plastic house, says their idea was stemmed from the urgent need to provide sustainable housing solutions. And by using 100% of plastic, they aim to reduce the environmental impact while also providing affordable and durable housing options. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition at the UN headquarters, Nairobi.
Huchagui familia yako, ni zawadi ya Mungu kwako kama ulivyozawadi kwao. Iwapo unakohoa, unahisi uchungu kwenye kifua, uchovu kila wakati, joto jingi mwilini, unakosa hamu ya kula au kupoteza uzito haraka bila kukusudia, na kutokwa na jasho jingi usiku, waweza kuwa waugua TB. Nenda hospitalini ukapimwe. Ikibainika ya kwamba ni TB, utapewa dawa, na ukimeza vizuri ulivyoshauriwa na daktari, utapona. TB yaweza kuangamiza jamii yako. Usikubali. Matibabu ni bila malipo katika hospitali zote za serikali.
Cheza Loto Moto.
Kwa majina naitwa Nick Wenwa, mtaa yangu ni Ngong. Loto nimekuwa nikicheza sasa ni miezi 3, mwakisha at least kwa siku cheza kama mara 2 hivi. Kwa hivyo unaweza wasihi mzidi kucheza na muendelee kucheza hilo Loto Moto. Watu wanashinda.
Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number weka 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000. Lipa kisha subiri draw.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hii ya Usini Record, bonyeza *811*396#.
Unakata pia kabaya Wakenya mnakuanga nako ya kuweka mtu kwa speaker alafu mnarekodi sauti yake bila
bila ruhusa. Nikipata sauti yangu ina trend huko nje na kuna pesa napata, mtajua mimi mlu yako na roya na sina roya binadamu. Usinirecord.
Ili kupata sikiza tini hii, usinirecord. Bonyeza *811*396#.
The National Parliament has postponed the debate on the finance bill after the House became unruly. The bill has elicited mixed reactions from Kenyans and was to be debated today in Parliament. It will now be debated on Tuesday next week, 2 days before the budget speech by the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u. Our reporter Fred Muoki talked to various political leaders on the proposed bill and highlights their sentiments.
The 2023-2024 finance bill has some proposals which has made the members of the political class divided, with the current administration, the Kenya Kwanza government, heavily drumming the support towards the bill.
The proposal before Parliament in the finance bill is reducing the rental income tax payable by landlords from 10% to 7.5%. Nobody is telling landlords in this country and tenants that tax on rental income is coming down, and therefore the landlord will have more disposable income in his hands.
Sisi tutapitisha finance bill kwa sababu Rais William Ruto anahitaji hiyo kodi ndio kuendesha budget ya hii Kenya. Na Kenya hatujafanya vizuri. Tax ya Kenya tukisanya sawa sawa tutasanya mpaka 2.8 trillion. Ikiwa kila mtu atalipa kodi Kenya hii.
Fund is not tax. You're only told ni 3% of your salary as long as it's not beyond 2,500. Wewe mwenye umeketi hapa aulipi hiyo 2,500, mimi ndio nalipa 2,500. And now to even kuongeza kidogo sukari, serikali imesema wewe ukitolewa 2,500, ukitoa 2,500 inakutolea another 2,500. So unakuwa na kwa account yako unakuwa na 5,000. So that we pool resources together.
However, a cross-section of leaders are opposing the bill and are calling for an immediate rejection of the contentious bill.
That the notion that the matter of this finance bill 2023 is a matter of life and death is not true. It is simply a mere bill which we have said is flawed, is not acceptable, is overburdening Kenyans who are already on their knees, and therefore the only logical thing to do is to withdraw it.
Nataka kuuliza, je, hii 3% mnaambiwa mkatwe ya nyumba na una nyumba yako binafsi inakwenda wapi? Sisi kama wanaazimio tumeikataa na tutaikataa na tutajipanga.
There is an increase in the fuel levy from a paltry 4% to 16%. What that tells you, it is going to be impossible for us to even imagine that the cost of living will come down.
Attention now shifts to next week, Thursday, when the bill will be presented before Parliament for second reading. Reporting for Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
Well, that's our reporter there, Fred Mwoki, sampling some of the sentiments echoed by politicians. Time now to focus on deeper issues around this finance bill. And joining me in studio is Alex Kani. He's a partner at HCD. Thank you very much indeed, Alex, for joining us.
Thank you.
Very good. And next to Alex, we have Robert Kamwara. He is a taxation lawyer. He's joining us tonight. Thank you very much indeed, Robert. First of all, I want to hear your sentiment. Today we were expecting Parliament to start debating this finance bill, and we wanted to hear so much about whether the sentiment that have been raised by members of the public were going to be captured in this debate. Unfortunately, it never happened. What were you looking forward for? And I would want to start with Robert.
Thank you. We're looking forward to seeing how the debate would go, especially on matters where it was going to be a balance on how they're going to debate on sensitive matters to do with capital gains, sensitive matters to do with the 20% that is required for you to place as a deposit before you can go ahead and put a matter at the tax appeal tribunal, amongst many other issues that are being debated, including the issue of to do the housing levy.
What about you?
Well, I was looking for quite a heated debate today, going by sentiments from both sides of the government, and especially the MPs who are aligned to either side, and much around this contribution to the National Housing Fund, plus the 16% VAT on petroleum products. So I was expecting a lot to happen today.
And of course, we have had it from President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua saying that they expect nothing less than a victory, from the floor of the House, which means that they have rallied their supporters in the House, or their members of Parliament in the House, to push through this bill. I want to hear from you, Alex. Which is the biggest challenge, or what is your bone of contention with this bill?
A couple of things. So first is to mention there are some things that are positive, which of course are not getting the attention that the media perhaps is giving to this finance bill. But there are also areas of contention that all of us have already had. So I'd mentioned the VAT on petroleum products, National Housing Fund contribution. We have issues to do with excise duty that is getting increased, especially for transfers being provided by telcos. Advertising, media stations will also be hit if we get the introduction of the 15% excise duty on advertising fees, just to mention but a few.
And one question that's now coming through is, Kenyans expect service delivery from the government. We expect roads to be constructed, hospitals to be built, schools to be built, teachers to be hired, and so much. Then how do we expect the government to finance this project?
Good question. Again, we are focusing on adding taxes or increasing taxes rather than focusing on the expenditure. So I think it's a good time we look at our budgets every year and how ambitious they are. We've heard that some of it is also budgeted towards wastage, and we've also, even today's news, we've had one of the MPs say if we were to collect taxes in a proper way, we would actually collect 2.9 trillion, meaning with the current tax measures that we have within our tax laws, we can actually collect the taxes. So why increase them now? If you are also admitting that you can actually tighten your belt, look at how we are spending our money, and make the money that is required to support budget.
But it's also good to recognize the fact that we're also having some tax reductions in some fronts. It's also good to be fair and to recognize that fact. I want to hear from you, Robert. We have had people saying that this document, this budget is these proposals are unconstitutional. They have even gone some people are threatening to move to the Constitutional Court to bar the implementation of this document. And do they stand any chance of succeeding in that front?
The Constitution is clear in Article 22, subsection 1. Every citizen has a right as a fundamental freedom to challenge anything in a court of law which he feels, to the extent that it will infringe his rights, or may even he feels that it might infringe his rights, then he has a right to go to court. And no wonder reason why we have seen the lawyer of the people going to court to try and defend and fight against the bill that is in Parliament. So agreeable, anything is acceptable. Yes.
Do you see any success in that attempt?
Well, the matter is in court, so it might not be very fair to say whether it's success or not, but let's leave it to the courts and decide. But looking at previous cases that have been there, it is success. It can be successful.
And when you look at this whole document, the Finance Bill 2023, do you, from a legal eye, do you highlight or do you see any provision that contradicts the Constitution?
Yes, there's quite a number. As we started from the onset, we talked about access to justice. And access to justice, again, is a fundamental right. And when the tax bill puts a restriction to 20% as a deposit that you have to put, and that is only on one side, the taxpayer. The commissioner on this other side, the taxman is not asked to put down his commission or to put down his contribution or his 20%, then access to justice becomes difficult. A simple thing, if you want to put, if you have a claim against somebody on an unpaid bill, and you have to go to court to the extent of a tune of about 1 million shillings, most of the court fees would amount not more than 71,000 shillings. Ideally. But if you are to now have a tax liability, we're demonizing the tax liabilities because you're putting it to the tune of 20%, so you have to pay 200,000 shillings. Expand it further, if it was 1 billion shillings, how unfortunate it would be for you to access justice. So quite a number of sections of the constitutions are being infringed. However, there are canons of taxation that the tax bill needs to observe. It has observed to some extent things on equity, things on the economic, it should be economical, there's certainty, and other things like convenience. So these are some of the things that the Constitution should also borrow from, the bill should borrow from when coming up with a bill.
And of course, those are some of the issues that we should be looking forward to in Parliament to see whether they are going to be captured. If you're just joining us, you're watching this conversation around the Finance Bill 2023. It was supposed to be debated in Parliament today. Unfortunately, it never happened. And so we're looking forward for this debate on Tuesday next week. And so we'll be able to see what is likely to change out of this bill. We want to take a break, and thereafter we'll be back with more conversation. Stay right here.
Kwa majina naitwa David Irene, nimetoka Mwiki. Loto Moto ni show iko sawa, ni kitu true. So na walikanyi wote mcheze Loto Moto.
Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number weka 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2,000. Lipa kisha subiri draw.
Established under the Unclaimed Financial Assets Act number 40 of 2011 to receive unclaimed financial assets from holders of such assets, the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority has taken the responsibility of safeguarding these assets seriously and reunites the assets with their rightful owners.
How unclaimed assets become unclaimed is purely through passage of time. A defined time in law has passed, and the owner of this asset and the holder have lost touch.
We received a letter from a bank telling us that they have sent the proceeds of her account to Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. So that's when the journey started.
Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Welcome back. You're watching us live from Broadcasting House. We continue our conversation on the proposed Finance Bill 2023 in the company of Alex Kanyi. He is a partner with Cliff Decker Hoffmeyer. if you like it, CDH, and Robert Kamwara, who is a taxation lawyer working with Kamwara Law and Company Advocates. We continue to look at the pros and cons of the finance bill. Before we went for the break, I had asked you about whether this bill, contravenes any constitutional provision, and you highlighted some of them, Robert. But I want to bring Alex into this conversation. You see, the bill also proposes to change the taxable band from the current 1 million to 50 million shillings to 500 to 15 million shillings for business entities. We know the government has been very keen to help the small, medium enterprises to grow and, of course, to access more funding. What is this provision likely to do to SMEs?
I guess this is also another provision which is a little bit not welcome, because I was speaking to someone yesterday who sells their shoes at the Kamukunji market. And this particular lady was telling me that they are struggling to meet their daily sales, which should be enough to cater for their needs. Basically, business has gone down. So it is at that point that the government is also increasing the turnover tax from 1% to 3%, and also lowering the threshold for turnover tax from 1 million to 500,000 shillings.
Yeah.
So I think it will be quite expensive to then do business, especially for the guys who the government is saying they want to promote, the hustlers and guys in the low income bracket. My proposal would have been perhaps they retain the same 1% and also retain the threshold to start from 1 million, at least to give these people some time to adjust. But just to give it some context, in 2020, we had the Tax Amendment Act, which then brought down the 3% to 1% for turnover tax. So it was just before COVID. So it was introduced by the government actually to cushion these small and medium traders from the tax. So this is a time they are reintroducing it, but the question is, have those businesses recovered? Are we in a better place post-COVID? The analysts will say we are not in a better place post-COVID because we are still trying to kind of adjust to the shocks, others that have come after COVID. For example, Russia, Ukraine, disrupted supply chains, etc.
Yeah. But we also agree to the fact that you still have so many medium and small companies that are without the tax band, but yet they're still making a lot of money, they're still making profit. And so how do you tap them? And this is one of the avenues of expanding the tax base.
Good thing, and I think the government is trying to do it in terms of collecting information from, if I want to get to know who I'm not taxing, say in the Gikomba market, I'm able to go to every stall, get to know who is trading, are they tax registered, and if they're not tax registered, ask why, bring the hard questions, and then try to bring them to the net. But connected to it is the government facilities that it can offer. For example, this person will want water, will want electricity. As I connect you to power, as I connect you to electricity, to water, I also want you to pay taxes so that conversation can be had, so that I'm able to convince this person who is perhaps in Gikomba that it is important that you pay taxes and you're not yet in the bracket, so that I'm able to also facilitate your business. So that's a conversation that I think this government should have. But it is a hard to tax sector, not just in Kenya, all over the world. And people are struggling to actually tax this particular sector.
I want to hear you, Kamwara. I mean, when you look at, the MSMEs in this country, what you're talking about, they employ about 90% of the country's workforce, and their contribution to the economy is about 25% of our GDP. But majority of them, they are excluded from the tax bracket. And so when you have such a significant portion of the economy being left out of the tax bracket, then aren't you working detrimentary to economic principles.
I agree, and that's why we started by talking about the canon of equity.
Mm-hmm.
The canon of equity does not say that we should all pay the same amount of tax. What it says, the richer, or those who have a higher income, pay more tax than these others. So it can be made realistic, and it can be fairly done in a way that can ensure that the tax base is widened. And as it is, the government is trying through the finance bill that has been put forward. The legislators are supposed to debate and see how the tax net can be widened. That way then, it will even make it easier for those who are in the higher tax bracket to pay less. And you can see the most important thing is how the collection is done. There is the introduction of the electronic system, the way cash will be collected, the way the tax will be collected. That is another contentious issue that has come about. And if it is properly implemented in such a way that it is made easy for taxpayers, even those who are in Gikomba market, to submit their returns and make their taxes payable, then it will be economical for all to pay their taxes. And the poor, so-called, or the smaller institutions and smaller companies will not feel overstretched when it comes to taxation.
And see, the riddle has always been, I mean, in a country where you have more than 22 million voters, and then you have about 2.5 million taxpayers, that is completely unfair. And so what then other tricks are you supposed to use, or is the government supposed to use to bring this number to maybe around 10 million? Because if we were to grow this number, you can be guaranteed that even our borrowing habits would definitely drop. Alex?
Yeah, certainly. But like I said, this is quite a hard to tax sector if you don't have data of who is trading where. But government has a lot of data, as it were, today. We had a program for Huduma cards. We had program, we had the census. Government has various agencies, not just KRA. You have, guys from NIS. You have guys in the water companies and the power companies. There's a lot of information that can be harnessed by the government to then connect the dots to say, how come, for example, we have this data that you're paying school fees for your child in this high-end school, yet we don't see any taxes? How comes we have data that you're paying this much in terms of power bills, meaning you're actually consuming a lot of it, but you don't pay taxes?
No.
How comes you, within even KRA and NTSA, you drive this huge car, it's registered in your name, but when we look at the data from a tax side, we don't see you. So I think it's just a matter of harnessing the information that the government already has to connect the dots, ensure that everyone is paying their fair share of taxes.
But you also have a situation whereby the analysts also say that one of the challenges that we are facing as a country is tax avoidance as opposed to tax evasion. Do you agree with them? And then how do you deal with this malady?
In itself, tax avoidance is not an offense, so to speak. As it is, you would say tax evading, because tax evading is where you literally run away from paying tax. But when you have smart skills of managing your taxes, that way then it encourages businesses to ensure that they can be able to pay less tax or pay friendly tax. Let me just make it practical. An institution or a company that decides to go and invest out of town in the counties that have been recognized by KRA as allowable sections, out of town sections, then you pay taxes at you're given refunds to the tune of 150% on your capital deductions. That's a way of ensuring that you do some tax savings. And small institutions can try and harness their businesses and try and reach out of the Nairobi counties so that they can be able to save on taxes. So tax avoidance measures can also be taken to ensure that we are encouraged to pay more taxes and come into the tax net, because the main thing is widening the tax base.
Very good. Well, my producer is telling me that we need to wind up this conversation, but I want to give you, Alex, 30 seconds to tell us. So, after Tuesday, what happens next? Because we know the budget presentation will be done on Thursday next week.
Well, after Tuesday, expect, of course, certain provisions to come to force from the 1st of July, depending on how the House votes on this particular bill. We've done some analysis before as a firm to just check some of the things that are introduced on the floor of the House. So we should check out for some of the things that could be introduced on the floor of the House. And finally, it's just to encourage taxpayers to be ready for this, because the way it appears, maybe a majority of this will just pass through. So get ready to be compliant, and maybe just to encourage also the government to check expenditure so that we don't have to tax every other time. And finally, of course, there are positive things within the bill, so it's not just all evil.
Absolutely. Kamara, I also want to hear from you in 30 seconds. I mean, we were accustomed to a situation whereby the finance bill comes immediately after the budget speech, but this time around it came earlier. How did this change?
Well, for purposes of public participation,
very well.
That's the reason why it was now not to be a custom, just to be read. So public are invited, and even at this forum we're doing public participation.
Very good.
And as my colleague puts it, a budget has got both sides, the expenditure, the incomes and the expenditures. Let us also look at how the expenditures are done. Let's debate around it so that we can ensure that at the end of the day we have a surplus and not a deficit, as it is always being said. Very good.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us this evening, and of course for allowing us to tap into your wealth of experience. Thank you. Your time is highly appreciated. Robert Kamara is a taxation lawyer working with Kamara Law and Company Advocates, and Alex Kanyi is also a partner at Cliff Decker Hoffmeyer, joining us this evening. Time now to have a look at what's happening in the world of sports, and the sports lady is here with us. What's up in sports?
Biggest odds in the world every day on selected matches. Make a decision. Mozart Bet.
Welcome to East Africa. This is Safari Rally Kenya.
The WRC Safari Rally is set for June 22nd to June 25th in Naivasha. This year's event, the 7th leg of the WRC calendar, consisting of 19 stages, will see drivers, among them defending champion and series leader Khalid Vampera, battle in what's considered as the toughest rally in the world. KBC Channel 1 will bring you the action to your living room, where a total of only 5 stages will be broadcast live on KBC Channel 1 and the Shakedown exclusive on our Facebook page. Catch the WRC Safari Rally on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
It is the cup with the golden ticket. Mozart Bet Cup. 2 million shillings. CAF Confederations Cup. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet Cup.
Thank you for keeping it KBC Prime Edition. My name is Karen Kibet. Let's now talk sports. The Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba says the government will fully support the national soccer team Harambee Stars as it prepares for the upcoming friendly matches as well as CAF and FIFA assignments. Meanwhile, the CS handed a sponsorship package of 24 million Kenya shillings towards Harambee Stars' preparation for Mauritius 4 Nations tournament and the Under-18 Junior Starlets participation at the CECAFA Regional Championship set to kick off on 24th June in Nairobi.
Stars is currently in camp in preparation for the Mauritius assignment next week.
You know, our boys will be getting into the heat of the qualifiers from November, and we are very happy that the team is assembled and ready to go. Ahead of the qualifiers, we want to make sure that they are well prepared. The coach has picked his team. As government, we want to show full support, and so today we have offered 24 million Kenya shillings total, which includes money for the trip to Mauritius, where they're going to participate in a 4-nation tournament.
Stars tactician Engin Firat is expected to name his final squad for the tournament soon before their departure this weekend.
Now Brian Mandela is injured. Joseph is here. He makes some sacrifices, but I don't know if he can play. Masud Juma was here in treatment, but it also doesn't look good. So there are some players where we have also some questions. And there was some players we had in our mind, like I said before, which we couldn't invite of this situation of the that they have a match. So therefore it's quite normal that he has offers, but at this point you have to talk to him.
FKF President Nick Mwendwa revealed Football Kenya Federation Premier League matches have been suspended to enable the national team prepare for upcoming engagements.
Mauritius tumelipanga hizi mechi 4, tumpe coach time, na umeona wiki hii tumesimamisha mechi zile zilikuwa weekend, awe na timu yake, akae na team coach.
Meanwhile, the under-18 Junior Starlets women team reported to camp Thursday ahead of the Sekafa under-18 championship set to kick off June 24th in Nairobi. Sela Onyango for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Sela, for that report. Moving on, Commonwealth Games 10,000 meter silver medalist Daniel Simiyu, world cross-country champion Beatrice Chebet, Mary Mora and Abel Kipsang emerged victorious in their respective races as the curtains came down on the National Police Service Athletics Trials at the Moi International Sports Centre in Kasarani. The 2-day event was used to select the police team that will take part in the national trials slated for next month.
Daniel Simiyu took charge in the men's 5,000 meters race from onset. Simiyu controlled the leading pack that comprised of Robert Kiprop and Stephen Kipkech. Simiyu clocked 13 minutes 40.8 seconds to win the race ahead of Kiprop and Kipkech, who completed the podium dash.
And I'm happy for the victory, because this season I don't want to lose. I want just to push. I will work hard, then the rest I leave for God. Hard work is the mother of all success, and I need to push extra hard for me to be a better person in the future.
Commonwealth Games 800 meters champion Mary Mora won the women's 400 meters after clocking 50.67 seconds. Millicent Doro came in second, while Veronica Mutua settled for that position. In the men's 200 meters, Brian Tinega emerged victorious ahead of Ronald Koech and Robin Wanjala, who came second and third position respectively.
Amenipea afya, ameniondoa injury, amenipea afya mzuri, na nimeng'ang'ana na coach hadi nimefika mahali niko. Lengo langu naomba hata mimi niwe mmoja wao katika kuwakilisha nchi yetu ya Kenya na kuwakilisha dunia.
The 2-day event was used to select police team that will take part in the national trials slated for next month. King Rimwangi for Prime Edition Sports.
Thank you, King Ori, for that report. Safari rally driver Pauline Shego is upbeat ahead of this year's WRC Safari Rally slated for the 23rd to 25th June in Naivasha. The WRC Safari Rally, which has attracted rally drivers from all over the world, will see 5 stages beamed live on KBC Channel 1.
As the 2023 WRC Safari Rally zooms off later this month, all eyes will be on the sleek Subaru N10 being steered by all-female Kenyan crew of Pauline Shegu and her navigator Lynette Ayuko. Despite pulling out in last year's edition, rally driver and KBC veteran journalist Pauline Shegu said she's targeting good results after undergoing rigorous training.
Wajua unaweza kufaulu tu wakati umepatiwa kitu la kufanya ambacho unafikiria wengine wanastasita, lakini kwangu mimi huwa nimejiamini kwamba nitaweza. Kwa hivyo nimejiamini kwamba nitaweza mwaka huu na niko tayari, nimejiandaa vilivyo. Gari lipo tayari, gari nimeshaliangalia, nimeshaliona. Nasubiri tu Mungu akijalia wiki hii inayokuja nitaenda kujaribu kuifanyia majaribio.
Shegu also called out on women to join the sport, dashing out the stereotype that rally is a male-dominated sport.
Mtoto anapozaliwa anazaliwa, anaanza kutambaa, kisha anatembea, mambo ni polepole. Huwezi ingia tu alafu ukue kama hao magwiji ambao wamekuwa huko. Kina Rovan Pera ni wale magwiji wenyewe. Mungu akijalia tutakuja kufika huko wakati fulani.
For years it's been either me and Tuta who you'll find are the only women in the sport. So to be able to get more women coming in and to be able to support each other, that's the biggest thing for me, to inspire more women to take part. For me, that's a huge deal.
Pauline wrote a new chapter in the history of the sport in 2011 after becoming the only female driver to complete the whole course in a Kenya National Rally Championship competition on her debut.
Tutakuwa tunapeperusha bendera ya KBC, timu zote za kinadada. Itakuwa bendera ya KBC, bendera ya Wizara ya Michezo pamoja na serikali kwa ujumla. Ni kwa mara ya kwanza tangu mashindano haya yalipoanzishwa, serikali ndio imekuja wakati huu kusupport, kudhamini timu ya kinadada kushiriki kwenye mashindano haya. Kwa hivyo mimi natoa shukrani zangu za dhati kwa serikali yetu ya Kenya kwa kuonelea kwamba wanawake pia wanafaa kuhusishwa kwenye mashindano haya ya mbio za magari.
This year's edition of the WRC Safari Rally will be held in Naivasha from the 23rd to 25th of June and will see 5 stages beamed live on KBC Channel 1. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Thank you, Daniel, for that report. And we at KBC definitely wish Pauline Shegu and Team KBC all the best when they take on the Safari Rally. Still on Rally, the WRC Safari Rally will be celebrating its 70th anniversary this year. To celebrate this milestone, Kenya's rallying legends will be feted at a dinner scheduled for Saturday.
With 2 weeks to go to the start of the WRC Safari Rally, it's all hands on deck for the local organizing committee. They have been making sure that all stages are in good condition and that all operational areas are set up. To ensure that the event maintains the standards required by the FIA, top officials have been joining teams in established rallies to gain knowledge required to run a World Rally Championship event.
Sardinia was a good experience. I went there for training and also to keep abreast. As you know, technology keeps on changing with the regulations, especially technical regulations. There are changes, literally changes. It's very dynamic and there are changes literally every year. So to keep abreast with this technology, I went to Sardinia to work with them and also benchmark so that we are sure we're on the right page when we do our event in the next couple of weeks.
With this being the 70th anniversary of the event, a dinner to celebrate Kenya's rallying legends on Saturday, the 10th of June, has been scheduled.
This Saturday is going to be a very good Saturday, and I hope to see so many people whom we drove together. Somebody sent me a list. We have a list from 1958. That's how far back we go. Rally drivers. And I've seen even Kenyans, black Kenyans were there. Some driving Angrias, Renault.
The WRC Safari Rally runs from the 22nd to the 25th of June. KBC Channel 1 will broadcast the shakedown on our Facebook page. The ceremony will start, the 5 TV stages live on Channel 1, and the prize-giving ceremony. For Prime Edition, I am Daniel Wahome.
Thank you, Wahome, for that report. Reigning world 1500-meter record holder Faith Kipyegon will now shift her focus to competing in the 5000-meter race after 8 years in the Paris Diamond League on Friday. The two-time Olympic and world 1500-meter champion will take on other 3 world record holders, Ethiopian duo Gidey and Taye and Kenyan Beatrice Chepkoech.
Kipyegon has only contested 2 5,000 meters race to date, both back in 2015, and she has won double world and Olympic gold medals. She'll be up against the world 10,000 meter record holder Lebsanet Gidey of Ethiopia. Kipyegon is likely to improve her 5,000 meters personal best, which she set in 2017 in Paris. Women's 3,000 meters steeplechase world record holder Beatrice Chepkoech will also take part in the event. The lineup also includes world indoor 3,000 meters champions Lemeli Haile of Ethiopia, Olympic 1,500 meters silver medalist Lailu Maiwa of Great Britain, 2019 world silver medalist Margaret Kipkemboi, among others. Africa 100-meter record holder Ferdinand Omanyala will also contest in 100 meters race after finishing second in Florence Diamond League meeting.
Getting stronger and stronger as the line approaches, and he pulls away to a win by about a metre.
Omanyala is yet to win Diamond League race since making his debut in 2021 in Brussels, where he finished fourth. Kingori Mwangi.
Jarrod Bowen slid home a 90th minute winner as West Ham United secured a last gasp 2-1 victory over Fiorentina in the Europa Conference League final at Prague's Eden Arena last night. The win handed the Hammers a first major European tour in over half a century.
Sid Benrahma's goal in the 60th minute through penalty kick puts West Ham United abreast before Fiorentina, netted in the 67th minute through the first time in the club's history.
Adam, this is why you're in the game. This is why.
And finally, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray starred as the Denver Nuggets beat the Miami Heat's 109-94 to take a 2-1 lead in the NBA Finals. The best of 7 series finals will resume this Friday at the Kaseya Center in Miami.
It's good. What a typical shot.
Jokic scored 32 points for the Nuggets, becoming the first player to record 30 points, 20 rebounds and 10 assists in the finals. Murray, on the other hand, finished with 34 points, 10 rebounds and 10 assists to complete his own triple-double in the final seconds. Jimmy Butler scored 28 points and Bam Adebayo claimed 22 points and 17 rebounds for the Heat, who at one stage trailed by 21 in front of a crowd containing 5-time NBA champion Magic Johnson, footballers Neymar and Paul Pogba, and singer Shakira. The Nuggets, beaten 111-108 in Geneva on Sunday, have never won the NBA championship, while the Heat are hoping to become the first 8 seeds to triumph.
Point triple doubles here in Game 3 for the Nuggets. What an answer after the...
And those are all the sports stories we had for you tonight. I'll see you tomorrow on Easy Friday with more sports news. For now, have yourself a peaceful night. My name is Karen Kibet. Right after this short break, my colleague O'Brien Kimani will be back with more.
The cup with the golden ticket. Mozart Bet Cup, 2 million shillings. CAF Confederations Cup. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet Cup.
Well, from business to the world of sports to politics, you had it all right here. And of course, a candid conversation around the Finance Bill 2023. But before I bid you good night, I just want to bring you some breaking news from Bomas of Kenya. Remember, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industries were electing their new president, and the results are out. And so Dr. Eric Ruto is the new president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He's going to serve for 3 years. He has won against the incumbent Richard Ngati, who has been the president of KNCCI since 2019. And Richard managed to get 208 votes against Dr. Ruto, who garnered 291 votes. So those are the results that are coming out of Bomas of Kenya, where Dr. Eric Ruto is now the new president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industries. We'll keep you posted with more information. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed for your time. We look forward for more engagement in the future. Until now, have a good night. Have a good night.